Right.
Welcome back to the Senate Government Operations Committee meeting of Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. So we had a better than hour presentation from the Department of Public Safety, which I appreciate. I thought that was very well done. And we walked through Senator Watson's bill, S-164, and we are now going to take a look at S-229, which is Senator Kihovsky's bill, minus legislative counsel who are tied up with a whole bunch of other stuff today. So I'll just turn it over to Senator Kihovsky for a walkthrough.
Sounds good. I will do my best to run through what the bill does as well as speak to why it does it. I will start. I'm not going to rehash S-39 as the previous witnesses did that, but I too have spoken to plenty of people who find both the lack of access to benefits and the low pay to be real barriers to serving. It's certainly been an assessment I've had to make each year. I take a major pay cut as a social worker to be here. And so I came at this from another angle. What this bill does not immediately, but beginning the 1st of January 2027 is exactly what was in S-164. If you look at the last 2.5 pages of this bill, it's exactly the same. What this bill also does is it establishes a legislative compensation commission. And so that would take the decision of legislative pay out of the hands of the legislature. We would no longer be responsible for setting our own pay. There are, I believe, 22 other states that do this way. And the legislative commission, as it is proposed in this bill, most similarly follows the commission in the state of Kansas. So this would create the Legislative Compensation Commission. The commission would, so nobody who is a current member of the General Assembly or a current employee of the General Assembly or a registered lobbyist could serve on the commission.
Smart.
The commission shall be composed of the following members: 3 individuals, not all from the same party, and one of whom is a former member of the General Assembly appointed by the Speaker, and 3 individuals, not all of the same party, one of whom is a former member of the General Assembly appointed by the Committee on Committees, so the sort of House and Senate representation. 1 individual appointed by the governor in the governor's sole discretion. And the members of the commission shall be appointed on or before February 1st of the first year of the biennium. So anything that comes out of the commission would not apply to the sitting legislature, but the next legislature. The term of the appointment of each commission member shall be 2 years, and vacancies shall be filled in the manner as, so if someone were to resign that was appointed by the House would appoint that. Yes. The Speaker shall select the first chair of commission, and the Committee on Committees shall select the vice chair. Going forward, it will alternate whether it's a Senate appointee or a House appointee who's chair or vice chair. The first meeting shall be held on or before the 1st of the first year of biennium. Commission shall elect their clerk. A lot of this is sort of boilerplate language for boards and commissions. A majority of the members of the commission shall constitute a board. Any action can be taken by the commission shall be done by the majority vote. The commission shall have the administrative and technical assistance of the Legislative Office of Human Resources and the Joint Fiscal Office. And the reason those were selected is what we heard a lot during S-39 was that any changes that we would make in these areas would impact those offices. And so we made the decision. Plus, the human resources people are great people to talk to about benefits, and joint fiscal are great people to talk about money. And then the duties and recommendations. So in the first year that the Compensation Commission exists, there's a much longer list of things that it is supposed to look at than in subsequent years. So in the first year, I tasked them to look at compensation, benefits, staffing, administrative support, the length of the legislative session, the current composition of benefits offered to members, including whether the salaries and benefits are sufficient, how they might be increased, the impact of current salaries and benefits on recruitment and retention of members from diverse backgrounds, whether members should be offered benefits in addition to participating in the state employees health plan, such as reimbursement of child and dependent care, elder care expenses, retirement, whether members should have the option to receive prorated salary throughout the calendar year instead of receiving their full. So it really looks at the whole broad spectrum of benefits and salary and how that would best be put forward, whether there should be supplemental compensation for members who hold leadership positions, such as the Speaker of the House, the Pro Tem, caucus leaders, committee chairs, what the structure or how the structure of our benefits and compensation compare to other state legislatures. And how the salaries and benefits and compensation compare to the mean and median compensation and benefits of general Vermont residents. And whether there's any changes to the general staffing meeting, whether there needs to be an increase in the number of legislative staff offices, whether there needs to be caucus staff or personal legislative staff. And this is a question, not a requirement. These are all questions to the task force in the first year, including increases, whether there should be increases to administrative support. And then after the first year, the commission shall report biennially a written recommendation that establishes the rate of compensation and expense reimbursement for the members of the General Assembly, potentially for if the first commission decides that leadership should get more, they would establish those rates as well. And the commission's recommendation shall be delivered to the General Assembly on or before December 15th of the first year of each biennium. And they will go into effect unless the legislature votes to decline them. This is, and then,
Or even the pay act, we do vote on. I mean,
part of the reason I think part of the reason we really struggled with S39 is that it is very difficult to be in a public position where you're being asked to set your own pay.
yeah, I think that every public corporation does that. I mean, so many other institutions do that without too much difficulty. It is puzzling to me why we have so much difficulty with this. We're all proud of our work and proud of what we do. It is spent state money, so it'll be, I think, hard to not have any vote.
We can vote on it if we're voting to reject the recommendation.
Yeah, but
And if we did vote to reject them, it would go back to the commission to propose an alternative. And if we voted to reject the alternative, it would stay what it was the year before.
But so we can vote to affirm, which would be nice.
I think that's Harvard to determine.
And I don't.
We
I
did.
didn't.
And then that took us through the first 7+ pages of the bill. And so that is it does not change our pay. It does not change any of those structures. It gives that through an outside commission to do. The first year they do the big study, like what we asked the commission to do in 39. But that's only the first year after, and we gave them extra meetings in the first year to do that. And afterwards, they simply do the yearly.
It's a great idea. I don't know why we didn't actually explore this option.
I thought about it too
Years
late
ago.
in the game.
Yeah, you know, if 22 other states do it, it just makes so much sense to take it out of this much more politicized.
And then when you get to the bottom of page 7, going on to page 8, this begins section 3, which is S164. It's exactly the same.
And that goes into effect in January.
Yes, January 1st, 2027. Whereas this board would meet before that to be able to give recommendations for
So
December 14th, 2026.
the rest of it goes into effect July 1st, 26.
Look at the effective dates. Well, yes. So all of the
Right.
act shall take effect on July 1st, 2026, but in the health insurance portion, there's this thing saying that this is that's already in the 2026 health insurance year. But that's what the bill does, sort of line by line, who the commission is made up of and what they're tasked to do in year 1 and then ongoing.
Senator White.
Thank you, Chair Colborne, and thank you, Senator. I obviously co-sponsored this bill. I would vote for it today and pass it out of this committee if I had a magic wand. The one question I had, and I'm trying to find the page. Okay, so on page 2, related to who the commission is composed of, I just wanted to flag, I do think it would be important, in addition to having individuals who are not current members of the General Assembly, I actually do think it's important if we call out people who have a financial Like I want to see like the partner or like the like if you're married, it's kind of like the same group of people who we have to list on our financial disclosure form.
I think that's really
So that's the only other. So I don't know how you would phrase that because it isn't always a spouse.
So some of
Maybe.
the, I went through and I'm happy to share with the committee, or you can put it on the committee page if we want. I asked NCSL to give me a rundown and a list of all of the different states that have commissions and what their commissions looked like and what they were made of. And I read that and studied that and landed on Kansas.
Yeah, that's great.
But some of them did have an explicit prohibition on, the domestic partner of, and I'm really open to adding that in. I think that makes sense.
Senator Clarkson.
How many people altogether?
Seven.
Seven. And
That's one of the differences from Kansas because their committee, I believe, was 11.
yeah, no, I think it's anything under 11. I mean, or 11. Is our head of HR on?
Legislative HR is one of the support providers to the committee.
Along with JFO.
Yeah.
and Legends.
No, so it's, let me get back to it. It's JFO and legislative. So the technical assistance will be provided by Legislative Office of Human Resources and the Joint Fiscal Office.
And we might want to add lunch council goes by.
I don't think we can because there's no legislators on the commission.
Oh, okay, right.
That was the rule that for legislative council to provide support
Yeah,
to a
no,
committee
no.
or commission, it has to be
Absolutely.
51%
Right.
legislators.
Yes, otherwise we can't get lunch council support.
But HR is represented, just not as a committee member.
So I think this is a great idea. I think that it really takes it out of our hands and makes it less sticky and makes it more objective, which is great.
And I would just say it doesn't mean we would get, and like, let's say the commission was created, they came up with it, they might say this is exactly the way it should be. There's no predetermined outcome. I just think the likelihood that 7 people look at our situation and don't come back with a change would be surprising.
That would surprise me, but it could happen.
But it's very, and I think that's the thing I most appreciate about your bills. I think what was so difficult about S39 was the point of us making a decision about our own pay and people feeling that we were just giving ourselves a pay raise. And I also appreciate that this wouldn't, like, voting on this, I would have to be reelected in the meantime to even be a possible beneficiary of this.
Depending on what the commission put forward in December of this year.
Well, with the healthcare at the very least.
Yes.
I would have
Yes.
to, we'd all have to at least be reelected.
To get access to the
Yeah.
healthcare, that is correct.
Yeah, that's the difference between a 1 year doing it in the
Oh.
second year too.
And the other thing I wanted to bring up to your question of Senator Watson, so yes,
Mm.
in F39, the largest line item was the healthcare, but the JFO estimate for what that line item was 2 years ago was $1.689 million, which frankly, in the scheme of a $7 billion budget is not that much.
Thank you for that.
$9 billion budget. So it was just shy of 1.7 million. And that was the sort of, if you remember from the conversation with JFO around the healthcare benefits, there was a spectrum. Because if every single person takes the healthcare, that's going to be more expensive than if 50% take the healthcare, that's just going to be more expensive than if nobody takes it. And they picked that number as the sort of high medium.
Yes.
So it actually could come quite under that. Because there are people in the building who might have the healthcare through a spouse or healthcare, Medicare. And then they would have access to the Medicare supplement plan that the retired state employees get, but that's a significantly less expensive plan to administer than the full state plan. But the estimate that JFO chose was the high middle, not the highest, but not even on the low end. So it could be much, much less than that.
If I remember correctly, that was even high based on the veteran status of
Correct.
members. That if you
Right, they might have right now.
included,
Yep.
the number of people who are veterans who qualify already made it would be unlikely.
Right, like, but I think it's always safer to choose to pick a number that's above what you expect to come in than to pick something because it sounds good and then discover a budget adjustment that you owe $1 million.
Well, I want to hear from Brian and John because they have been signed. one of the last time we raised our pay significantly was in the pay act, which you and I voted on. If 2 years ago.
We didn't raise our pay significantly.
Yes, we did. We had a major significant reset of our pay.
That was
In the pay
20
act.
years ago.
No, it was 2 years ago.
No, it-
Hey, yes, it was, excuse me. Can check. We had a fairly major bump in our pay, which was great, which was a sort of, that is the last time that we had any, and it may have been 3 years ago. Yeah, go.
I can tell you what I'm getting paid, and it is not a major bump.
We did, we got a significant, maybe.
Did
4
we
years
get the same 6.2% raise that every other state employee got, including the governor?
I think we did. That, do you remember this?
But that wasn't us
Yeah,
raising
not
our
raising.
pay. That-
Yeah, Pledge Council can.
The last time we level set legislative pay and put it on track to be something fair was over 20 years ago.
Nope,
Yes.
this was, it's a fact, so let's just find out. But the point is, it was done and it came to the committee in the pay act, done by whoever creates the pay act. And we just passed, we did almost no discussion of it, but I remember we had a long discussion about it because it includes everybody. And so anyway, that was the last time, and I would, as a result, there was almost no discussion about it. There was total trust in the process. And I would think this would only be valuable if we had total trust in this process, and I would have trust in this process. But I would like to hear from Brian and Sean, because I know Brian voted against S39. John, you weren't here. So
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
I got more recent estimates.
Oh, great.
What I heard was 2 to 5 million
For healthcare.
to introduce that. And I guess part of my question is, because of the cyclic nature of our business, it introduces more instability, if you will, in my view. In other words, if you get hired by a company and you take out insurance with them, you could quit tomorrow but for the most part, people stick around for a little bit of time until because you don't get immediately insured. There's a period of time where you gotta wait to get insured, I believe.
It's not always true.
No?
No.
I'm just saying, every 2 years we get elected or not again. So if I were in it and I had paid in for, let's say, 1.5 years, by the time that the insurance kicks in, maybe it's 1.5 years worth of premiums and co-pays, and then I don't get anything. That might make me think one way or another. Now, for those of us, and I mean, I've been very fortunate, I've been here 12 years, so by this time, I would feel like I paid in enough to take some of it out if I got sick. But it will cause a hole in the budget. It may be insignificant in some people's view, but it's still, and again, we should have JFO come in and firm up that estimate, but that's what I was told. The compensation is even harder because the commission hasn't existed yet. They could come back with a potential 20% raise or 25% raise for the 180 members. And we'd have to figure a way to make that happen if that were, or we, as you said, reject their proposal and it goes back to where it is now. So those are some of the immediate sort of questions I had.
Well, let's get JFO.
Yeah. And I'm not a big insurance nerd. I have no idea how this would work. It seems like it would be a challenge to administer it. Because what if 4 people decided to do it? It's a lot different than if 180 people decided to do it.
I mean, the system already exists for the state employees. We'd just be jumping into it.
Okay.
Who should we ask to come? I'd love HR.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'm wondering.
HR.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we could take a day of testimony
Sure.
on it, because it's true. I don't know how it would be administered, but I do think of the Vermont State Health, like the reason this bill is compelling to me, and the same with Senator Watson's, is I lose out on access to my health insurance through my company because of the time taken off during the legislative session. I'm not eligible. So I do think there are folks who just lose their health insurance because they can't work their full-time job just based on the hours here. So I would like to understand like what type of health insurance are you getting? Because I can get it through other ways. I could go on the exchange. Luckily, my husband has health insurance, so I get that. So, but I don't understand. I think it would still be a discussion amongst different family members in different households of the legislature, because I don't actually know how robust the benefit would be. And if you'd be eligible for it, you would only be eligible, I assume, for the state health employees plan if you couldn't get health insurance through your other job. Like, what if I was okay.
You can choose which health insurance you want from which job.
Oh, okay. Well, then now I would ask, how would that work?
Some people might no longer have to work 7 days a week to maintain enough hours.
Yeah,
to have access to
what I
health
do with
insurance.
my,
When you go back to your other job, do you take, if this were to go, would you sort of get double insurance?
Well, that's kind of my question. I'm not eligible for health insurance because I don't work enough.
Okay.
Because of the minimum 4 months being off, I'm not considered a full-time employee, even though I work full-time the other part of the year. And I work during the session. I'm a part-time employee during the session. So that moves me away from being eligible for the full-time benefit.
And obviously, we would be required to keep paying in, even if we weren't in session and getting compensated.
Yeah, that's kind of so I guess if we could have any witnesses who
Well,
are
HR and joint fiscal for sure.
beautiful and
And then we got to decide whether we take one bill up, both bills.
And could we just hear from John?
Sure.
Well, I wanted to answer Senator White's. If you recall from S39, part of the reason we established the 1/5 off session pay is not only because we do, in fact, most of us do, in fact, do legislative work in the off session. It was to account for this issue where we would be required to pay it. So it basically meant they could pull the direct deposit out throughout the year.
Sort of like teachers, a lot of teachers do. That's probably something.
Mhm. And that's one of the questions in the legislative working group too, is like, should legislators be able to prorate their pay throughout the whole year? So they're getting a regular paycheck all year, and teachers do that. They take less each paycheck. So they get the same amount at the end of the year, but instead of only getting paid for 9 months, they take less each paycheck to get paychecks.
I mean, they have that option.
Yes. And that's one of the questions posed to the original commission, is if we should be allowed to do that.
So I sit on the healthcare committee and deal with all these things, and you hear about all the folks who don't have healthcare or are in this case, and I'm sure in the legislature case, are either uninsured or underinsured, and a lot more underinsured. So trying to wrap my brain around that, and you guys are giving me a whole lot more to think about here. I think another issue that you'll find is, can I use you as an example?
yeah, go ahead.
Senator White says that she's getting healthcare somewhere right now or whatever. But now she has a choice.
Mhm.
And what happens lots of times in businesses anyways, they'll say, hey, I'll pay you an additional $3,000 if you don't
Yeah.
come on my insurance policy. Hence, you're gonna go under this. There's so
Yeah.
many different things going on here that I'm really having a hard time getting my brain around. And for me in my district, I remember you folks about this. A lot of it was just razzing, right? Just picking from senators and legislators, but some was, and I thought that was interesting. How come we don't hardly make any money, and we're on Medicaid, whatever, and you guys can go down there and do and get healthcare? Crazy.
Well, they get it through Medicaid.
I agree. I'm just telling you, I hear that some Senator Clarkson. I'm not saying that we shouldn't debate it,
So
discuss
they
it.
think pays for bloody healthcare.
I'm not that in the state. And so I just think you're gonna run into, there's so many questions that this commission is gonna bring up. And all kinds of different types of, it was retirement in there as well.
Something for them to consider. It's not, again, this commission could come back to us December 14th, 2026 and say everything's fine. Don't change anything.
And so,
I would be shocked by that, but they could.
so it'd be part of the retirement system, the state employees.
If the commission's recommends
Recommended
that.
that.
The only
We have to
thing
figure
that
out
this
where-
bill gives us is
Yeah.
access to the healthcare plan. The rest of it is up to the commission to determine.
I got to skip.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, more to come.
Sophie.
Yeah.
So can you, what happened, was it last year, year before?
Last session.
That's 39.
S30, the process of it, it passed out of this committee, it passed out of approach, passed on the Senate floor, went to the House, passed on the House side slightly differently, came back to the Senate. We concurred, we did, and then went to the governor, he vetoed it.
We were one vote
And we
shy
were
of
one
the
vote
other
shy.
one.
Really?
Yeah. So that was a pretty heartbreaking thing.
I still think if I had 24 more hours, I would have flipped it.
It was a very disappointing, and I will say, well, you weren't on the committee at the time, but I felt very personally attacked on multiple fronts. So it isn't like, I do just want to be clear, like, it's an issue that people take very seriously when you tell them that you would like to raise your potential salary, if that's the way it's framed up. And we were going from like 14,000 to 28,000. So that made the concept of us doubling our pay playable in the media. And I think the concept of you seeing your legislator doubling their pay when you assume they make like $60,000, $80,000 a year, I think that's a hard pill to swallow. So there was also, I think, not a lot of clarity on what are they actually getting paid now and what are the benefits. So then the idea that we were getting more just really stuck in the craw of a lot of people. And I respect that. I totally respect that.
I do think there was some disingenuous,
Yeah.
like, we make $14,000 a year.
Yeah.
Is that from the press mostly?
Yeah, I don't even know. I think it's
Want
on
to name names on,
Yeah, we'll
I
find
want to name names on the record.
we'll find that stuff with these reports.
It was a really tough
Yeah.
conversation, and as someone who is not wealthy and
Mm.
works as a social worker, the hoops that I have to jump through to be here and the sacrifices that I have to make, I don't think a lot of people would choose to make, and thus we have a legislative body that's not actually representative of the population and experience of Vermont, because most of the people who have Medicaid or are living on a fixed income simply cannot afford to be here.
Yeah, this was post that big exodus of people as well. We had like post-COVID a bunch of people.
Yes, there were 10 new senators in the Senate.
It was a huge turnover of people for many, many reasons, but a big reason people said that they left was I can't afford to do this anymore. Just
Mhm.
like, that was like the number one answer was I just can't afford to do it anymore. Yeah. So I think it's an important topic.
Okay, we'll take some more testimony. Sophie, I'm sorry, we did walk through your bill.
I did my best.
You did a great job.
7 members.
I was in on the House floor, so
Yes.
just gonna get here as soon as I could and,
Yep. Well, you're off the hook.
okay,
Thank you.
I will watch the testimony.
Anything else, committee? Okay, we'll call it a day and see all of you tomorrow.